Just gonna check with you guys if you can hear me. Sound check 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear me? Just to make sure everything's a-okay. Let me know if you can hear me or not. But welcome, guys. Welcome. Be cool. Welcome, Rafe K. Welcome. Is it Krishna from Spaces? So thanks, guys, for joining. I'm gonna do this simultaneous live stream from YouTube and Spaces as well. And yeah, thanks for getting involved. So if you guys get a chance, make sure you check my last video with Lucas Cage. I had to re-upload that video because of sound issues, so it should be fine now. So make sure you check that out. Okay, so what should we go through today? Let's go through some latest news in Gaza. So I don't know if you can see my slides. Yeah, you can. So this news has been shared by Carl Zar. He says, as China sides with Palestinians, the Gaza war could strengthen Israeli ties with Taiwan. And Carl Zar has said, go ahead, just try. So it sounds like there's already, this is an Israeli newspaper, by the way, Haaretz. So it looks like Israelis are putting some sort of threat to China, saying you guys are supporting Palestine, so that means we're going to be supporting Israel. I mean, we're going to be supporting Taiwan, and probably looks like they're going to be doing some sort of weapon transfer or something. But like Carl Zar said, please go ahead and see what happens. So these kind of threats are not going to work with China. I mean, China's not even scared of United States, and what's little Israel going to do with their genocide army? So welcome, guys. More people have joined in. Hi T, welcome to the show. Don't forget to like and share, helps with the algorithm. Make sure you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Making sure. Just put your thumbs up or something. Say yes. Can you hear me? No one's. Hey, Big Buzzle. Hey, Rake says yes. Maria says yes. Excellent. Thanks, guys. I was just waiting for that confirmation before I go ahead and talk. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, T. So I want to kind of go down with all the latest news that's happening around Gaza. So the Yemen Houthi leader, Mohammed al-Bukaiti, has said that if Saudi Arabia and Emirates join part of any coalition to attack Yemen, we will not leave an oil field or gas field in Saudi Arabia or Emirates. We will target all ships transporting oil. So this is mainly because of a threat by Austin. Mr. Austin has been going around all of the Arabian countries, and apparently he's going to put together some sort of coalition. And this coalition is basically going to be protecting the Red Sea from Yemen's. Yemen has been taking a lot of ships, and all these top five shipping companies around the world, they've stopped shipping through the Red Sea. And Mr. Austin has said that he's going to put together a coalition which includes Muslim countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Jordan, Bahrain, and he's going to put these countries together, and apparently they're going to stop Yemen from taking these ships. So Yemen has replied saying if Saudi Arabia and UAE gets involved, they're not going to be happy. They're going to be attacking oil facilities all over Saudi Arabia and in UAE. And they're not going to be entirely pleased with that. So this is, as you know, the Houthis or the Yemenis do not mess around. A couple of days ago, I think they took around 3 or 4 oil rigs and blew up one as well, just off the Yemeni coast in the Red Sea. If Saudi Arabia gets involved, if UAE gets involved, number one, the Muslim world is not going to like it because they can see that this is basically a war between Israel and the West, um, basically supporting Israel with their genocide. So if Saudi Arabia suddenly starts coming on board and starts supporting Israel with protecting the shipping and stuff like that, and if UAE gets involved, then that's going to cause a bigger problem in the Middle East because that's going to start having a war between not only the Muslim countries versus Muslim countries, but it's going to cause greater divide around the Muslim world. And the people are not going to be liking it one bit. And I can tell you for one thing, the Muslim world is not going to like Saudi Arabia getting involved with UAE and this coalition to help out the Israelis and help out the US. That's not going to be happening. And if it does happen, it's a really, really bad idea from Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia just managed to get out of a war with Yemen, and this war with Yemen lasted for years, caused caused a lot of Yemenis to die, but it's also caused a lot of um, damage to Saudi Arabia as well. There's been a lot of attacks on their oil facilities. half Half of the army got destroyed. Half of their tanks got destroyed. They've had a lot of helicopters and planes taken down. There's a big list of uh, can't find the list now, but there's a big list of items which got taken down by the Houthis and by the Yemenis. So you can't mess with them. And Saudi Arabia found that out. You cannot defeat the Yemenis, and they've tried it for years. And the Yemenis are now fighting for the Palestinians by the looks of it, as well as Lebanon, while the rest of the Middle East just seems to be standing there and just watching and maybe helping Israel as well. So the couple of things they're going to be doing. They're going to be doing some sort of land route, which is going to go through Saudi Arabia, as you can see from this picture here. So it's going to go from UAE ports and Bahrain ports as well. And these trucks are going to be taking goods all the way via Saudi Arabia, but via the desert and into Israel, which is into northern Israel. So they're going to be doing that. They're also going to be protecting the sea routes as well. So it looks like the Saudis and UAE are basically colluding with Israel by the looks of things. If they get involved in shipping, the Muslim world is not going to like it, and you can see a lot of demonstrations that's going to be happening in Saudi Arabia and UAE if this ever happens. And also, the Yemenis have got lots of sophisticated weapons. As you've seen, they have taken down a lot of shipping containers, a lot of ships that have been taken down over the past few weeks. And these anti-ship missiles seem to be very accurate, and the water in the Red Sea is not very deep, and also it's not very wide. So any ships going through the Red Sea is an absolute target, and these anti-ship missiles can easily hit them. They've got drones which can hit them as well. So this is really, really bad news. And it looks like America is probably going to be standing at the back, watching and directing other ships being destroyed. And I think that's what the Americans are doing. They don't want to go in and attack Yemen, or they don't want to go in and get their ships sunk. So they're going to get Saudi Arabian ships sunk, UAE ships sunk, Bahrain ships sunk. And that's what they do. That's what they're good at. They like to use other countries and get their ships and people get killed while the Americans watch from the back. So it looks like that's what's going to be happening. And it's going to be extremely stupid of Saudi Arabia and UAE and Bahrain to do something like that, even Jordan as well. But Jordan doesn't really have Jordan doesn't really have many ships because Jordan is kind of a landlocked country, and so Jordan doesn't really have much ships. But what Jordan would probably provide is money and maybe people, maybe even a couple of airplanes or something. So I'm not sure. But the main country that's going to be helping out in the in these Red Sea is going to be Saudi Arabia, because they do have a big navy, Saudi Arabia, and yeah, things are not looking good. So what Yemen's been doing is affecting Israel's economy. So Israel's economy right now is absolutely being destroyed. As you know, everybody's in a war state, so shops are closed. Everyone's being deployed as reservists or part of the army. So most of the businesses are closed. Their ports are pretty much empty at the moment. Nothing's going in or out, mainly down to the Yemenis. Um, they're not doing much in terms of visitors. Then they're not getting many tourists. Tourist money is absolutely zero. So the only thing that Israel is surviving on is American money and European money. And as you know, America provided them with 15 billion as part of this ongoing conflict. And this money is probably going to be running out very, very shortly. So they're going to be probably asking for a lot more, probably 50 billion or something, because this war is taking longer than what America wanted. And Israelis have said that they're going to carry on um, fighting this war until they get rid of Hamas, and God knows how long this is going to take. Either they destroy all of Gaza and all of the Palestinian people, um, or they displace them, get them to move to Egypt or Jordan, Lebanon. Either way, it's genocide. So things are not looking good. So Israel's economy is absolutely in tatters. Because of the shipping that's not going now to Israel, it's going to cost a lot more to go around Africa. So that's not going to be good for Israel's economy. It's not going to be for Egypt. It's not going to be good for Egypt's economy as well, because a lot of ships go through the Red Sea. I mean, via the Suez Canal to the Red Sea. And if a lot of the ships are not going through the Red Sea into the Suez Canals, that means Israel's in terms of getting money from the Suez Canal is going to be going down. But the Muslim world is not going to care about that, because Israel is good friends with Egypt, and Egypt is pretty much a pro-Israeli government, and so the Muslim world don't really care whether Israel, Egypt makes money or not, because according to the Muslim world, Egypt is just a pro-Palestinian, pro-West government. So they can go to hell, according to the Muslim world, whether they got a good economy or not. So that's the economy in terms of Israel. Um, there's other big issues happening around the economy as well. Because of the shipping costs, which is going to be increasing, there's other shipping companies which are either going to be avoiding the Red Sea or going around the Red Sea. The top 5 shipping companies around the world, they have said that they're not going to send any of the ships through the Red Sea. So this is going to cause a more of a global inflation crisis. The same thing that happened a couple of years ago when it came to COVID. All the prices are going to start increasing because these ships now have to take longer journeys, which means the goods are going to be costing more. Transport is going to be costing more. It's going to take longer for these goods to arrive, and that's just going to bring up costs. And I think inflation in the short term is going to rise, maybe in January. And this is really bad news for the Western economy, because just when the Fed had a meeting a few days ago saying that they have managed to control inflation and they might start printing money again, so that plan is going to be going out the window, because if these shipping companies now start charging a lot more for their goods and delivery, then inflation of goods that are being transported around the world is just going to increase, and and this is going to cause a major increase in inflation. Because if you think about it, the world the world is a supply chain, and if certain goods require certain things, deadlines, um, and that's going to delay everything else. For example, if you're making semiconductors and you're waiting for certain raw materials, and these raw materials take extra weeks instead of a couple of days through the Suez Canal, now you've got to go around Africa. It's going to cost more, plus it's going to take longer, and everything else basically gets delayed because of it. When things get delayed, things just get more expensive, and that's how it works. And so if global shipping is affected, then the global economy is going to be affected. So this is going to be bad news for not only the Western world, but the rest of the world as well. Probably not going to affect China too much because Chinese goods mainly, excuse me, the Chinese goods seems to be traveling back and forth through the Red Sea. The Yemenis are leaving the Chinese shipping alone, mainly because China has good relations with Yemen. So only companies that the Yemenis are targeting are the Western companies going to Israel. And right now, China's not really sending anything to Israel. So Chinese goods are not really affected at the moment. So this is it really. The Houthis and the Yemenis are basically affecting the worldwide economy. They're affecting the Israeli economy, Egyptian economy. And not only that, it's going to cost United States a lot more to protect the sea lanes in the Red Sea. Because the latest information is they have sent another aircraft carrier to the Red Sea. And obviously, when you send an aircraft carrier, you got to bring in the whole group with you. You got to bring all the destroyers. You got to bring the whole fleet and submarines and everything. And all of this costs money. When you deploy from one area to the next, all of that costs money because you got to pay for fuel. You have all the staff who are working as part of the army. When they get deployed, they got to you got to pay them extra money. Plus, they got to get all the weapons and everything ready, and basically, it's more expensive when you send a whole aircraft carrier and all of its other destroyers and subs that go along with it. When you start getting them making them travel around Africa, making them travel around trying to protect sea lanes, all that costs money. And who's going to pay for it? Basically, Israel's not going to pay for it. USA is going to pay for it. So already USA has got 2 aircraft carriers in the Mediterranean Sea, and they've got 1 aircraft carrier in the Red Sea now. Well, just off the Red Sea, I believe it's parked just after Somalia. I think Somalia. Yeah, they parked it just outside Somalia, and they're going to be protecting the Red Sea. But that's not really going to stop anything. I think if I was a betting man, I think the Houthis. Oops. Yeah, if I was a betting man, I believe the Houthis will attack any military ships that come near Yemen's coast, and if the Houthis start attacking military ships along the Yemen coast, and that's just going to escalate things, which means either US is going to start dropping bombs on Yemen, and maybe Israel might get involved as well. And this is just going to enrage the Muslim world even more. And the Muslim world is going to be even more enraged than what they are now. And the Muslim world is just going to think that, these Westerners, they're basically just there to kill all Muslims. They're trying to kill all the Palestinians by doing a genocide. Now they're going to try and kill all Yemenis, try and do a genocide there, because Yemenis are pretty poor as well. So the Muslim world is not going to be happy at all, which means all of the American bases around Iraq and Syria will also get attacked, and most likely Iran will get involved as well. If Yemen starts getting bombed, Iran will probably get involved, and this is just going to escalate things further. Hezbollah is going to be firing more rockets into Israel, and this is a kind of war that the West does not want to get involved in, and they can't. First of all, they can't afford it, because if you remember when they went to Iraq and Afghanistan, at that point they could afford it. I think they spent over 6 trillion in those two wars combined. 6 trillion. Does anyone think that the West can afford another 6 trillion fighting all of these Middle East countries? There is absolutely no way. And I mean, already the America's economy is going down. The dollar's going down. So they can't even afford to pay Ukraine, and they got to pay Israel as well, and then now they've got to fight other wars along the Middle East. There is no way they can afford it. And this is what's happened in the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire had a huge budget on its army, and they just spread themselves too wide, having too many wars and putting too much money in the Roman armies. And eventually everything just collapsed because they just couldn't handle all of these wars that were happening at the same time. And the whole society just collapsed from within. And looks like that's probably what's going to be happening in the West as well. So first of all, Yemen's attacking the West and Israel in terms of its economy. America's basically spending so much money sending all these aircraft carriers around and deploying them to different parts of the world and protecting sea lanes just for Israel. Shipping companies now moving or stopping going through the Red Sea, which is going to cause more inflation issues. So all of these economic issues is just going to affect United States and Israel as well. So you got to ask yourself, is it really worth it fighting all these fronts for United States, especially during election year? So as you know, 2024 is a very important year for United States. It's the election year, so they do not want to be getting involved in a war in the Middle East, fighting all of these Middle Eastern countries. And I mean, if you look at it, how long did it take them to fight in Afghanistan? It took them 20 years. How long did it take them to fight in Iraq? They were there for about 20 years. What did they achieve in Afghanistan? Absolutely nothing. The Taliban has taken over. The Taliban have got brand new American weapons. They've achieved nothing in Iraq apart from getting rid of Saddam. But was it worth the 6 trillion? I don't think so. So they cannot afford another 6 trillion fighting in these wars in the Middle East, and plus American lives as well, American money, and all for what? All for Israel. So people say that Israel is the 52nd state of United States, but I think it's the other way around. I think Israel is controlling America, because the Israeli lobby in America is a very powerful lobby, and it looks like it's more powerful than the oil lobby, the big banks. It seems to be more powerful than the military industrial complex, because America has been just using, Israel has been using America for its own needs for a lot of the years now. I mean, the Iraq War was went in with Israeli intelligence, and I remember Netanyahu was there at the time, and he was saying that Iraq has got weapons of mass destruction and stuff, and they believed him. So basically, they went to Iraq with Israeli advice, and so basically, Israel is just using America to fight its own wars in the Middle East, and that's what it's doing. And America's basically falling for it. The Israeli lobby is very, very strong. I just don't understand why there's an Israeli lobby, because imagine if there was a Russian lobby or a Chinese lobby, and these guys were telling the Congress what to do or how to run their foreign policy. Can you imagine the kind of press that would receive? I mean, Trump got in a lot of trouble because they thought that the Russians got involved in the elections and they got Trump into power and stuff like that. And all of that was obviously fake. But can you imagine if there was a Russian lobby or a Chinese lobby, and so why is there a lobby for Israel? Why is this lobby so powerful that it can basically manage the foreign policy of United States, destroy United States' own economy for Israel? Because that's what they're doing, guys. They are destroying their own economy just for Israel, just for a genocidal country, killing wives and kids. I mean, I'd love to see the United States going around the world now preaching human rights. I mean, before all of this has happened, United States was going around the world preaching human rights. They basically got rid of Gaddafi because they blamed him for human rights abuses. They tried to get rid of Assad because they blamed him for human rights abuses. They destroyed Yugoslavia because they were blaming Yugoslavia, or I can't remember his name now, for human rights abuses. So they go around the world bombing these countries for human rights abuses. They bomb obviously they got rid of Saddam for human rights abuses, and but that it's they ignore it when Israel basically does it, and that's the problem, guys. It's full of double standards. The world will never forget this, and the world will never ever listen to another word by United States or the West talking about human rights. And I can imagine Blinken or Baerbock or von der Leyen going to these African countries and saying, "Oh, we put human rights above anything else." Blah blah blah. These African countries are just going to laugh at their faces because this is how ridiculous they have made themselves to be in the West. They preach human rights, but they allow Israel to basically do a genocide right in front of people's eyes. So I was talking to my friend actually today. I had a kind of had a coffee with my friend, and we were talking about basically the situation in Israel and stuff like that, and we were saying that how like a couple of years difference it has made. I mean, all the arguments that the US made with Ukraine, saying that Putin's doing genocide, Putin's doing war crimes, Putin's killing civilians, all this stuff, and saying, oh, Putin's gone into Ukraine, Ukraine's trying to defend itself, Ukraine's trying to protect itself. Basically, all these arguments that they were saying about Ukraine, now they're completely silent when it comes to Palestine, because at the end of the day, there's only one country which is invading Palestine right now, and that's Israel. There's only one country that's bombing Palestine. Palestine has got no means to defend itself. It doesn't have any army or anti-aircraft weapons. It doesn't have a navy. It doesn't even have an army with any uniform even. They don't have any sophisticated weapons like the West does. All of these rockets that you see, they're all homemade. All of these RPGs that they make, they're all homemade. And Israel controls their food, water, electricity, internet. It's basically an open-air prison or open-air concentration camp. And I saw this article coming out of the West, how basically this is turning into another Auschwitz. So those of you who don't know, Auschwitz is basically, oh, here you go. Israel could make Gaza look like an Auschwitz. That's what one of the Israeli ministers have said. And you can see how disgusting the language that they're posting. And this is coming out the Jerusalem Post. So they've never they never thought about the two-state solution. This was all basically a facade to fool the West, fool the people, thinking, oh, don't worry, there's going to be a two-state solution eventually. But I think people are waking up now. People are realizing it's all lies. Israel was never, ever committed to a two-state solution. These people in Palestine would have stayed in in a concentration camp for life, and slowly Israel would have just wiped them out over time. They call it the mowing the lawn, and they would have wiped them out slowly, bit by bit, and this is exactly what they're doing now. I think another probably 100,000, 200,000 Palestinians could probably die, because we're in winter at the moment, and there's a lot of Palestinians who are very hungry, and they don't have food, water, sanitation. They're living basically in refugee camps. These refugee camps are being bombed, and also there's no toilet facilities there as well. So where where do you think there's all of these hundreds and thousands of people are having toilets? They got nowhere to go. They just have to do it on the streets, and that's causing more health issues. And it's just sad what's going on in. It's just sad what's going on, guys. The Pope recently came out and said, I don't know if you've seen. Excuse me. I don't know if you've seen. There's a story about two basically Christian women, a mother and a child. They got shot with an Israeli sniper in a church, and basically what happened was they got shot in an Israeli church with the sniper, and they were Christian. So the Pope has recently said that what Israel is doing, they're a bunch of terrorists, basically killing a wife and child. So it wasn't really good. And there's another clip of an Israeli soldier finding guns in a baby's incubation chamber, and everyone is saying how fake it is, because why would anyone put guns in a baby's incubation chamber? It makes no sense. I mean, look, first of all, it's fake because you can see the camera pointing. You can see in the beginning the camera is basically pointing at the incubation chamber, and he opens the incubation chamber. And basically he picks out the bag, so he knew exactly where it was, and they had the camera on at the right time. Probably someone took it with a mobile or something, and he opens a plastic bag and he basically pulls out a gun. So he expects people to basically believe this crap. I mean, this is basically planted. If you want to get the basically investigators in who can like check the DNA and stuff like that, then fine. But coming out with this kind of proof it doesn't really show anything. It's just making themselves look silly. So you got Mr. RFK Jr., who says that Palestinian people are the most pampered people in the world. So he's saying the Palestinian people are the most pampered people in the world, but how can they be pampered when they got bombs being thrown at their heads? They got no food and water. So this guy has obviously been bought by the Israelis.
Are you kidding me?
Israeli lobbies have obviously bought this guy, and he was supposed to be an independent runner in the elections, and he was supposed to be against war, and he's supposed to be completely against the military-industrial complex and stuff. But he seems to be worse than bloody Biden. I'm sorry to say. This guy, his father would be turning in his grave. Basically, there's a lot of theories going on that his father was killed by Zionists. I'm talking about RFK, and he was killed by Zionists because RFK was talking about a two-state solution at the time, and he was talking about Palestinians having their own state and stuff. And next thing you know, he got shot and killed. So basically, his father could have been killed by Zionists, and most likely were killed by Zionists. Now his son is basically being bought by the Zionists, and he's basically just saying all sorts of crap now. So his father is not going to be very pleased. He's probably turning in his grave, and I think this guy has lost a lot of votes. A lot of people are disappointed in him. His true colors have shown, but better to show his true colors now than later if he became president, for example. So best to see what this guy is all about now, so people can see what he's about. And I'm pretty sure he's going to waste a lot of money running for president, and I don't think many people will vote for this guy. What else? Got like lots of stories. So these two guys in the British media, James Whale, and I don't know who this guy sitting next to him is, but these two are British, but they're so stupid, guy. I mean, these guys are just so stupid. I'm going to play a clip, and I'll just let you decide how stupid these two guys are. Seriously, they're so dumb.
Do you admit that Hamas are a bunch of murdering terrorists that you would like to see out of the West Bank and out of Gaza?
Hamas is an integral part of the Palestinian people. They are a militant group. And
there are a lot of scumbags. I hate to be. That is the most ridiculous thing I've heard. They are. You're scared, aren't you? You are scared to condemn them.
I'm not scared.
You are scared to condemn people who committed this. You disgust me, Ambassador. I thought you were a reasonable, decent person.
You disgust me with your questions. 20,000 people have been killed, and you never.
And that is terrible. And nobody is.
Well, actually, even if you go with the Hamas figures, that's actually a very low amount compared to the. It's about 1-to-1 ratio of terrorists to innocent people. So even on Hamas figures, that's very low. And let's face it, Hamas figures are a load of.
If I might say, a very good diplomat.
Because
you know there is a war.
So do we.
Good night. Thank you for your call. You want to stop?
Bye. Don't be a.
So there you go, Guy. You got the best of British brains there, unfortunately. I just want to say a big sorry on behalf of all the British people for these two idiots. Absolutely shameful, disgusting behavior by British brainless journalists, sorry to say. Let me see how everyone's doing. I'm going to go around and say hello to everyone quickly. Hello, Joker, how you doing? Boss Q, Putin shirt, Big Basil, how you doing? Hader Khan, nice to see you. Machine F, Elf, Joker should have won. I like the name. GSP, and who else do we have? CA, hey, good morning, CA. Nice to see you. Superman, David K, Christian Peach, David K, John, Samuel Corp, and I think I've said hello to the rest. T, Lucien, John, and yeah, I said hello to the rest. So like I said, guys, if you've got any questions, just put Q in front of your kind of message, and I'll pick it up later on. So let's see what anyone's got to say. I've got two people on Spaces. If you want to speak up or say anything, let me know. If not, I'll continue with the show. Just want to see if there's any good questions out. If not, oh, hi Daniela. Nice to see you. Mohican as well. Welcome. GL, welcome. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about something different for you guys, and I'm going to talk about this film that I watched over the weekend. So I went to watch it yesterday, and this is Godzilla -1. And I have to say, I've seen a lot of reviews of Godzilla -1, and those of you who watch films and those of you who like films, this got reviewed by a lot of the Western YouTubers. Like, if anyone follows Critical Drinker or Nerdrotic, Heels versus Babyface. So the YouTube community all love this film, all of them. These are big YouTubers with like millions of followers altogether. And everyone seemed to have loved it. The Western world seemed to have loved it. It's got very good reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes, it's got about 98% or something. So it's got a lot of good reviews. So I thought maybe, let me go watch it because I am a Godzilla fan. And I went to watch the Japanese Godzilla film. And my God, guys, this film was just Japanese propaganda. I did not like it at all. And I'll tell you why I didn't like it. So this Godzilla monster was going around and basically it was causing nuclear explosions coming out of his mouth. So I thought about it and I thought, hang on a second. I did some Google searches and I realized that Godzilla was basically created after the Second World War in Japan. And Godzilla was created as a monster to basically brainwash the Japanese public to make them believe that Godzilla was the one that was basically dropping these atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And I'm not joking, guys, because this Godzilla movie, that's what he was doing. He was basically it was basically nuclear bomb was coming out of his mouth and he was blowing up Japan with nuclear weapons, basically. And so I did some Google searches, and like I said, Godzilla was created, just after the Second World War, and I think it was a tool used to basically brainwash the Japanese public to make them believe that Godzilla was the one dropping atomic bombs, not America. And it worked, because if you look at the languages being used in Japan, I mean, when Biden went to Japan and even when Ursula was talking about these bombs dropping on Japan, nobody mentions that America was the one that dropped these bombs on Japan. If you look at all of the statements coming out of Japan, of America, and you see all of these statements coming out of the West, basically, none of these countries have actually said that USA was the one that dropped the bombs on Japan. So I think what they're trying to do is erase from Japanese books and history that USA was the one that dropped these bombs on Japan. And they're trying to basically brainwash the Japanese people thinking that it was Godzilla that did it. And I'm not joking here, guys, but I was speaking to oh my God. I'm not joking, but I actually spoke to a Japanese guy in the cinema, and this Japanese guy, he was actually British Japanese, right? He was British Japanese, and so obviously I didn't know him, but he was basically, when everyone comes out and talks about the film in the foyer. So when everyone comes out and everyone gets together and everyone's talking about the film. So I was just overhearing him talking with his friends about Godzilla. So I went up to him and we were talking about Godzilla and stuff. And he had no idea that America had dropped these nuclear bombs on Japan. And I'm not joking, that this was a Japanese British guy. He had no idea that, that America was the one that dropped, these bombs on Japan. He had no idea. And absolutely brainwashed. And I'm just thinking how Japanese people are so brainwashed, because and this is how they do it. They make people believe that this monster was the one that did it, not America. And then they erase it from the history books. And every time Biden goes to Japan, or anytime Ursula goes to Japan, they never mention USA was the one that dropped these bombs in Japan. So I think what they oh shit. So I think what they're doing, guys, is I think they're just trying to erase the fact that America dropped these bombs in Japan, trying to erase it from memory. And it's working. I think a lot of Japanese people are actually believing this crap. And this is why America is also doing Godzilla movies as well. You notice America does a lot of Godzilla movies. Japan obviously is doing it as well. And it's just a way to brainwash the public in Japan. And poor poor Japanese people, they are getting absolutely brainwashed, and this is how they do it: through film, through media, through books, and people are falling for it, guys. And this is how you basically brainwash the public. And when I watched it, I was watching a completely different film from what everyone else sees it, because obviously when everyone else sees it, they see a different film. But when I see it like a propaganda tool, something to brainwash the Japanese. And these poor Japanese people have no idea. And I bet a lot of Japanese people don't have any idea that America was the one that dropped these bombs. I kid you not. It's crazy. Anyway, let's go back to Gaza. Actually, let's talk about Italy, basically. So let's talk about Italy. Italy has left the Belt and Road Initiative. And one of the excuses Italy has basically, one of the excuses that Italy has come out with is saying that they're not making enough money from China in this Belt and Road scheme. And that's one of the reasons they had to basically pull out. But my argument is, if you look at this article here, so this article was actually released in, I believe, you can see here, this article was released in June 24, 2021. And this deal was signed in 2019. So within, like, I was checking the dates, and within 1.5 years, you had articles like this coming out saying Italy has learned a tough lesson on China. Western alliances are back on the table after the 2019 deal failed. So this is the Belt and Road deal that, Italy basically signed with China. And within 1.5 years, within 2 years, they're already talking about pulling out. So anybody that knows anything about business, you are not going to get returns within a year or 2 years. When you do a business, you're talking about returns within 10 years. So this is a problem, really. And I think already after a year, the West has given Italy a lot of pressure to pull out. And this was way before Meloni was on. And you've seen all these articles coming out like this. So even before Meloni was joined, and you see all of these ridiculous articles all over the place. And you can see here, Italy signed a memorandum supporting China's Belt and Road in 2019 by Giuseppe Conte. And he's been governing for less than a year, and already apparently has failed. So Belt and Road scheme is not a short-term deal, guys. This is a long-term deal which is going to be lasting for decades, if not centuries. This is not something you will get your money back in within a year or 2 years. This is a long-term deal. This is a long-term infrastructure deal with roads and ports, and it's just basically improving the infrastructure, improving supply chains, improving trade. This is the long-term deal. This is not something that you can immediately expect to get returns straight away. That's why this is a political decision for them to pull out, because it's definitely not a business decision. Because if it was a business decision and they pull out within a year or two, it would be the most stupidest decision they've ever had to make. So this is all political. So I wanted to kind of say that about Italy, because I tried to talk about Italy last time, but I think my sound had died at the time. So I wanted to kind of talk about that. So let me go back to this. So before I talk about that, guys, I want to make sure you guys are asking me questions. So I'm just going to go and pick up some questions. So let me see. I think a couple of you have asked me a question. I'm just going to pick Going to pick one from Joker. What do you think about the new mysterious pneumonia from China? Why so many viruses come from China, like COVID, SARS, Black Plague, the Spanish flu, swine flu, etc.? I'll be honest with you. I don't know much information that's coming out of China, but I think right now it's probably just propaganda. Probably just people trying to scare the world, saying, "Oh, there's another virus in China. Oh, there's another virus in China. Everybody panic. Everyone start running for their lives. We're all gonna die." That's probably the kind of stuff that's coming out in the papers and stuff. So I don't really believe in it, to be honest. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I had a look at global times and stuff, so it doesn't seem to be that serious for me to worry about it, or anybody else in the world to be worrying about it. I think it's just scaremongering. So yeah, I don't really care about it unless unless it gets more serious. But I doubt it, to be honest. But yeah, anything coming out of China, they're just going to exaggerate it. To be honest, it's just what they do. So you asked me another question. Italy has a right to pull out of Belt and Road because it's a debt trap. Okay. Do you think the Belt and Road is a total disaster for China? So first of all, I don't think it's a debt trap. I don't know. You're obviously Indian because obviously all the Indians seem to say that. So first of all, I don't think it's a debt trap. First of all, because if you look at how many countries signed up to Belt and Road, it's over 150 countries. And a lot of these countries are actually benefiting from the Belt and Road. I can give you a couple of examples. For example, Laos has benefited from the Belt and Road. A lot of Central Asian countries have benefited, like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. A lot of other countries have benefited, like Iran has benefited a lot as well. And a lot of Southeast Asian countries have benefited, countries like Vietnam as well. And Russia as well has benefited as well. And if you're asking me for a European country that's benefited, you got to look at Greece. Greece has got that Piraeus port, which is one of the biggest ports in the world. And Greece was bankrupt at one point, and then China came in with this Belt and Road. They've transformed the port, and now Greece is now getting so much profits from it. So I don't think it's a debt trap. Like I said, if you talk about debt traps, you can talk about the IMF. That's a real debt trap around the world. And so yeah, I don't agree with you, unfortunately. So do you think that Belt and Road is a total disaster for China? So why is it a total disaster? If you think about it, having these railway links to the rest of the world, going from China to Europe, crossing Central Asia, crossing Russia, crossing Turkey, crossing Iran, crossing Europe. How is that a disaster for China? This is only going to benefit China in the long term, because there's going to be more trade going on between those countries. There's going to be more trade that's going to be happening in China's yuan. The trade is going to be faster compared to shipping. And you'll also link all of these countries together as well in one continent. So this is only going to benefit China for not only centuries but hundreds of years, for hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's probably ingenious, to be honest. And this is one of the things that America is actually very jealous about, because if you look at where America is very isolated, right? It's got ocean on both sides. It cannot connect to Europe. It cannot connect to China. Cannot connect to Central Asia. Cannot connect to Middle East. Cannot connect to Africa. But you have a huge continent of countries at the moment, which you got the continent linking other continents. You got China linking Russia, Eurasia, Middle East, Africa, India, and all of these countries are connecting by rail. So this is going to be the next economic hub for hundreds of years when all of these countries can trade with each other over railways. And it's just going to benefit not only China, but all of the countries that's linked to Belt and Road. So it's not a disaster, to be honest. And in fact, China is already making money out of it. Already they are getting huge profits out of it. Because do you know how many trains going into Europe on a daily basis from China? We're talking about hundreds. And, you know, and there's more Europeans buying Chinese goods going via train than boats and shipping. Because the shipping, it takes months, but with trains, it seems to be taking weeks. Countries are trading in Chinese yuan as well when they're trading. So that's only going to benefit Chinese currency. Also, China's linking its railway links as well with Russia and Iran and other countries as well. And that's just going to benefit China because obviously China's needs raw materials, energy. So they get a lot of energy from Iran, from Russia even, raw materials even. And so this is only going to benefit China long term. And I don't believe it's a debt trap at all because there's countries already who are already making a profit from this Belt and Road scheme. For example, Laos is already making a profit, and Laos has got a high-speed rail link linking China to Laos capital. And within like a couple of years of running this service, they're already starting to make a profit now, and these figures are there online if you want to check. So it's definitely not a debt trap. This debt trap story is just coming out of India. It's mainly down to jealousy and also Indian propaganda as well, unfortunately. All right, guys. So next question. Let's see what other questions you have. So yeah, there's a lot of people in the chat don't agree with you. So David said BRI is not a disaster for China. China wins global trade, increases, it gains a lot of goodwill. Actually helping countries as opposed to US is truly using debt traps to enslave them. Exactly. So Laos HSR only goes 250 kilometers per hour. But Taiwan, you know, it goes 250 kilometers per hour, but compare that to UK, right? At the moment, the high-speed rail that UK is building, maximum speed they are saying is 220 kilometers per hour. So it's going faster than UK speeds, than Western speeds. And compare that to America. Look at how fast American high-speed rail is going. So that 250 kilometers is faster than Western countries already. So that's more than enough. And don't start bringing up the HSR in UK, which is an absolute disaster, guys. I mean, if I start talking about that, I'm just going to get really upset because that is one disaster. That's going to probably bankrupt the whole country because it's the costs have already ballooned to 130 billion. They cut 3/4 of the line, so it's not going to Scotland anymore. It's not going to Manchester. It's not going to Leeds. The only place it's going is Birmingham. But there's already trains going to Birmingham, and they take about 1 hour. So this high-speed rail link is going to go to Birmingham and save only 20 minutes. And there was a white paper which came out, and they said that for them to break even on recouping these costs, they need to charge each person £500 one way to Birmingham to recoup these costs within 20 years or 30 years. And if they want to recoup these costs within 10 years, they got to charge each person £1,000. So it's absolutely impossible. Nobody's going to pay £500. You must be joking to pay £500 just to save 20 minutes. I mean, that's like stupidity. You know, this is why British people have got no brains. You know, this is why you have these dumb politicians right now supporting Israel, you know, for this genocide, because they really love making these stupid decisions in UK. So they think that going to Birmingham, which, you know, you would take a high-speed rail just to save 20 minutes and charge you £500. For £500, you can fly all the way to China. So why would you go to Birmingham to save 20 minutes? It makes no sense whatsoever. It's absolutely ridiculous, guys. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so I'm looking for questions from anyone else. I think few of you have already asked more than one question. You should. I need to kind of spread it around, guys. So if there's no more questions, I'm gonna carry on with the show. Okay, so I'm gonna carry on with the show. Excuse me. So I wanted to show you this picture as well, so you can see this picture. This is basically coming out of Israel, and they're already talking about developing Gaza for their own needs. They're basically making these beach properties in Gaza to be obviously taken by Israeli settlers. So they're already looking at the future of Gaza. They're basically going to take over and put some beachfront properties there and make money out of it. That's what they want to do. So there's a French foreign ministry official killed in an Israeli attack. And again, the French are very quiet. You're not going to see or hear anything coming out of Macron. They're very, very quiet about it. So absolutely sickening. What other stories are there? Oh, this is Joey from Friends. You can see he's got a bit fat. Gonna let himself go a bit. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about this. These bombs. So if you look closely at these names of these bombs, these are basically famous people like Jackson Hinkle, Suleiman, Andrew Tate. So these are like famous people who are basically pro-Palestinian voices in Twitter and YouTube. And so these guys, they've basically put these guys' names on these bombs. So it's basically a threat, trying to like scare them. And because these guys have got families and stuff, so obviously it's like a threat. So that's what these Zionists like to do. They like to kind of threaten people and scare them. Is there anything else? You can see this article from the Independent says UN says half of Gaza's population is now starving amid Israel's offensive on the south. So things are not looking good, guys. Oh, this is BYD's new factory in China. They're looking to build. You can see it looks like an amazing factory. And any of you can guess, this looks very similar to Apple's factory, Apple's headquarters in California. And it's basically a big circle. And this is exactly what BYD's factory is going to be looking like, or headquarters is going to be looking like. But they've got buildings on just outside of it as well. So it's looking good. So that's it, really, guys. Don't think I have anything more interesting to say. Well, thanks, guys, for listening. And just going to check if there's any other questions. No other questions. And don't forget, guys, I had to repost that video for I reposted the video for the Lucas Cage interview, and and you can catch it basically. Hang on a second, let me show you. Present. So you can catch it in my homepage. You can see the live chat with Lucas Gage. It's not being sent out to you guys, so it's not being pushed out, mainly because you can see here it's limited. This video has been basically limited by YouTube, which means it's not going to get pushed out for you guys to see. So you're going to have to go to my homepage, and it's the latest one. I managed to fix the sound for this video, so if any of you who missed it before or didn't see it because of the sound issues, you're welcome to catch up with that as well. So like I said, YouTube is not going to push this out. It's basically demonetized. So make sure you watch it. I don't care if it's demonetized or not, because obviously it's a very interesting conversation that I've had with Lucas. So I don't want you guys to miss it. So it's a very, very good thing to listen to if those of you who can catch it. So make sure you catch it. And I want to kind of say thanks, thanks guys for kind of joining in. Hi Frankie boy, welcome to the show. And if you guys got any last questions for me before I go, I'm happy to kind of answer anything. Any last questions, let me know. Oh, okay. Somebody's asked me something interesting. Please talk to us about the Fed taking interest rate cut. What does it mean to us in terms of the economy? So I'm glad you asked me that question, because it's a very important question. So those of you who follow trading and the markets, the Fed last week mentioned that, well, Jerome Powell mentioned that he may cut interest rates next year. So this is going to have a huge issue to the economy, because for the last couple of years, they have been raising interest rates, which means that money supply has been going, they've been basically tightening the screws. So they've been tightening the money supply and stuff like that. So they've not been printing money. So when they start cutting rates, they're going to have to pivot. And when I say pivot, it means that they're going to have to start printing money. And when they start printing money, it's going to cause two things. It's going to cause inflation to rise. And then they're going to be stuck, because inflation is going to be starting to rise again. People are going to start complaining again. And next year is obviously election year as well. So they want people's votes. So if inflation starts rising again, and people's lives are becoming more difficult, they're gonna basically have to raise the rates again very, very soon, because they haven't really tackled inflation, and I'm pretty sure that the inflation is going to come back in January because of the shipping and everything that's going on. The costs of goods are becoming more and more expensive every single day. And when they start printing money, it's going to cause a huge amount of inflation. And 2024 is going to be the year of de-dollarization as well. I think this year they've started, the whole world has started de-dollarizing. And next year is going to absolutely accelerate the de-dollarization. And I say that because you just have to look at the Middle East. And I believe that the Middle East is pretty much fed up of the United States. And they're going to have to start trading in their own currencies, or Chinese yuan or Russian rubles. And you will see huge amounts of de-dollarization going on in 2024. There's going to be a lot of countries making deals with China and with each other as well, which doesn't involve dollars, because they've seen what America is doing. They've basically rubbed shoulders with the devil, which is Israel. They're going around killing kids, genocide and stuff like that. So the world has had enough of the United States. So you will see a huge acceleration of de-dollarization next year. That's going to cause more inflation. And I think it's just the whole economy is probably going to collapse. My estimate is probably by April, May, June, by summer, I think something's going to break. I probably estimate that it's going to be a huge economic collapse next year, because all of these rate raises and rate cuts, they don't know what they're doing, guys. They think they know what they're doing, but all they're doing is destroying the economy even more. And I think there's going to be a lot of mayhem next year, and all of these dollars that are going to go back to United States, because when you de-dollarize, these countries, they don't need as much dollars. They don't need to hold as much dollars anymore. Like China, for example, holds about $3 trillion. And they need that to basically buy American goods around the world. So, for example, if they want to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, they need to buy it in dollars. So they obviously need that they need that 3 trillion to basically keep their own currency in check, but also to buy American goods around the world. So because China's got a huge trade surplus with America, so they make 300 billion per year from America, I believe. So they need to spend that money. So obviously their trade surplus is growing. So they need to basically spend that money. So the way they can spend it is they can buy goods around the world. So they can buy oil, gas in dollars, or they can buy treasuries in the United States. But China's actually been selling treasuries, so that's definitely something they don't want to do. Other thing they can do is buy farmland in the United States. But even America's now cracking down on farmland as well. So America's been cutting down on China buying farmlands, and so they can't do that. So the other thing that China can use American dollars for is the Belt and Road scheme. So they can give countries loans in dollars, and these countries can pay back in Chinese yuan. So that's another way they can basically spend these dollars and these surpluses. So say, for instance, if Saudi Arabia next year decides to sell oil in Chinese yuan officially, I mean, this is going to be a huge change, because that means that, first of all, China does not need to hold as much dollars anymore, because if they can buy oil in Chinese yuan from Saudi Arabia, and other Arabian countries will also follow suit as well, and they'll also sell oil in Chinese yuan. That means China doesn't need to hold all of these dollars, so they can start dumping dollars, and they don't need to hold 3 trillion anymore. They can start holding maybe 1 trillion. And these trillions of dollars are going to end up trickling back to the United States. And if every single country around the world starts dumping dollars and start trading in their own currency, they don't need to hold American dollars anymore. So these dollars are going to be going to end up back in the United States. The Fed is going to start pivoting, because they want to start printing money as well, because they want to start reducing the interest rates. The cost of goods are going to be going up. Shipping is going to be going up. Cost of oil is probably going to go up. And I think there's going to be hyperinflation going on in the United States next year. And this is just going to be a huge kick up the backside for America's economy. And I think there's going to be a massive crash next year, guys. I can really see it. I think a lot of economists are saying it as well. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's not looking good for United States. It's not looking good for dollar. And yeah, so not good at all. Let me know what you guys think. Excuse me. Somebody says inflation in Canada is brutal. You're lucky to find a cheap house of 500,000. You're right. The countries which follow the United States are the most at risk. And I'm talking about Canada. I'm talking about UK, Britain, because at least the United States can print their own dollars. But the UK's economy is all linked to the dollar. So if the dollar decides to crash or fall, you will see all of these client states fall first, like the UK will fall, Canada will fall. So because we're linked to the dollar, like by glue, so our whole economy is basically based on the dollar. And this is why when the Fed increases the interest rates, we have to increase the interest rates as well. When the Fed reduces interest rates, we have to reduce it. So all of our policies is basically depends on the Fed. And so all of these Western countries which depend on the dollar, and I'm talking about Euro as well, European countries, they're all going to fall first, because America, they can print their own dollars. As dollar is the world's reserve currency, so they still have that control. But all of these countries which can't print the US dollars, which are basically slaves to the dollar, they're the ones that will fall first, unfortunately. And yeah, Canada is one, UK is another one, and there's many others as well. I mean, already Japan is falling as well. Japan is really been, Japan's economy is absolutely being destroyed right now, and Japan is very heavily linked to the dollar. And yeah, basically the Japanese economy is what you would say kamikazing itself, trying to save the dollar. So the Japanese are basically killing their own economy for the Americans. Those of you who follow the markets. The South Korean economy is also heavily destroyed. The Japanese and South Korean economies are also being accelerated, being destroyed, because China is also taking a lot of their business as well. So and less and less Japanese and South Korean products are being sold in China as well, mainly because of Japan's and South Koreans' pro-US stance. So the Chinese people have had enough of Japanese goods, South Korean goods. So these two countries are also in danger. So yeah, South Korea is in danger. Japan is in major danger. UK is in major danger. Germany is in major danger. Netherlands is in major danger. Countries like Argentina is in major danger because of this new leader. Canada is in major danger as well. Australia is, maybe not Australia, because Australia still trades a lot with China, so Australia might get away with it. But I think those are the main countries I'll probably go down first, then probably followed by others. So that's it, guys. Hope that answers all your questions, and hopefully it's a nice, enjoyable live chat for you guys. And thanks for joining. And I'll see you soon, hopefully. Take care for now. And don't forget to watch Lucas Gage's stream as well. Thanks. And I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.